Hey, good morning. No, you're not watching the wrong show. Jerry's just not with us today. I'm your guest host, JB Portillo. And I don't know if you all know this or not, but I'm also a master gardener and member of the garden club. And with me is one of my favorite, but don't tell him, fellow master gardeners, garden club members, all around just guru of plants, really. You're pretty cool.
More goo than rue, but you're close.
Right. Hey, I want to remind you before we go on, you're going to notice, if you notice today, the title of the show has been changed to the Gardening Show because we are not just Bella Vista anymore. I want to acknowledge our two show sponsors, and we are so appreciative of them. One of them, of course, is the Bella Vista Garden Club,
right?
And we're very thankful for that.
Yep.
And the other is Benton County Master Gardeners. So going forward this next year, we're going to have an awful lot of new and exciting things for you because the Master Gardeners in particular are part of the University of Arkansas. So we're going to have maybe some remote shots and things like that.
Right.
And I'm hoping you'll come back.
Sure.
Okay, yeah. Good deal. All right, so today what we're going to talk about is bulbs and how to make our springtime wonderful.
It's that time of year.
It is. It is. Okay. Why don't you just get started here? What do we need to do?
Well, the first thing you need to do is prepare the soil. And bulbs like a lot of compost in the soil. They like loose soil. So if you don't have your own compost or you don't have a good source for buying it, I've heard that there's some leaves available right at this time of year.
I don't know where we're going to find any leaves in
Well, I know. So those can be, tilled into the soil before you plant, and that would be a smart thing to do. So you want nice, loose, pliable soil.
Leaf mulch is wonderful.
Leaf mulch is the perfect thing to get started with.
Okay.
Absolutely. And but you've got to order those things.
The bulbs?
Your bulbs. You got to decide what you want. And there's a wide variety starting with crocus and going through all the daffodils and cyclamens and jonquils and on and on and on, gladiolas and hyacinths and then you get down to the narcissus, which is, if you, depending on when you plant them for in the house, you can get the timing down where you can get them to where they're going to bloom at Christmas time, or you can get the timing down where they're going to bloom in a pot in your house in a sunny window for Easter.
Okay.
So you have everything from a crocus that's going to come up and bloom in late February, all the way through the tulip season and the daffodil season, and into all the way into Easter with your narcissus in the house.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
And there's a lot of good catalogs. Should we talk about the catalogs?
Why
first?
don't we? Because we have favorites, don't we?
Yeah, we do.
I'll hold them up for you if you'd like.
There's a lot of number of good catalogs. Spring Hill has an excellent catalog.
Let's hold
I'll pass
it still
this to her.
so that the camera can get a good shot. You like it better here, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Got that, camera? Good. This is a great one, Spring Hill.
Brex.
Brex is an old timer. It's been around a very long time. It's in Indiana, I believe.
Right. And these folks have been around since 1885. Gilbert Wild.
1885?
Yeah.
Almost as old as you and me.
Almost.
Yeah. I haven't heard of this one. I'll have to take a look at that later.
And if you're looking for something really unique and exotic, these people are over in Oklahoma, Bustani.
Yeah.
And if you're into something that they develop cultivars on their own, that if you want to splurge on one or two or three things to experiment with that are showstoppers, they would be the people to do it.
Yes.
But my favorite catalog, and the one that we found and discovered the Bella Vista daffodil in many years ago, was from Brent and Becky's. They've been around since 1900. That's in the third generation family operating it. They have hundreds of acres over in Holland that they own. They have hundreds of acres up in New England that they do. They have high quality, high standards, and there's another advantage to purchasing from Brett and Becky's. When you mention the charity, your favorite charity, the Bella Vista Garden Club gets 25% of your order. So if you spend $100 on bulbs with Brent and Becky's. $25 goes to the Bella Vista Garden Club, and that goes into our scholarship money. And our scholarship money that we gave over $8,000 this year, are to horticultural students struggling with tuition that are making good grades and live in this general area that go to the University of Arkansas. So, all good stuff. So the first thing we want to do is get the bulbs ordered, and then.
Do we order those now,
the
Tony?
Perfect time. You got to get them now, because the best time to plant is going to be between Halloween, which was last night, and Thanksgiving. So if you haven't ordered, you better get them ordered. Some bulbs you can get in as late as Christmas, but I always plant mine between Halloween and Thanksgiving.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep.
So.
What's your favorite bulbs?
Oh, my favorites. Well, my favorite is not a bulb, it's a tuber, and that's the dahlia. I just love dahlias, you know, but I've planted an awful lot of daffodils and so forth.
So the dahlia, you plant those now too?
I would wait on the dahlias until February.
And they are
If you
perennials?
do, there is a trick to planting them up here in this part of the world because of our zone and the kind of weather we could have.
Well, you come back in February and we'll talk about that. Let's talk
Just
about
get
the
them
bulbs.
deep. That's the thing.
Okay,
Yeah.
let's talk about
The depth of the holes. Yeah. So you want to take when you wherever you're going to plant your, say, let's talk about tulip bulbs. Wherever you're going to put your bulbs, whatever kind of bulb it is, measure your bulb, and you want your hole to be 3 times the depth of the bulb. Okay, 3 times the depth. And then in that hole, what you're going to sprinkle a little bone meal or rock phosphate in there to speed up the growth of the bulb. Okay, and whether you're planting in a row or a triangle or an oval or a circle or whatever, a lot of bulbs you're going to have problems with squirrels digging them up, especially tulips, especially tulip bulbs.
They must be tasty.
Yes, I guess. So little rascals. But anyway, one way to stop that is after you've put your soil back and dug your hole and you have your bulbs in, is to cut a piece of chicken wire the size of the pattern you've laid out for your bulbs. Lay the chicken wire down. You can either hold it down with some big rocks. I use landscape pins. I just stick the pins in. Cover it with a light covering of your mulch, and then when they go to scratch for the bulb, they hit that wire and they give up. And you don't have to remove the wire. The plants will come right up through the chicken wire. So you don't have to remove it until after they've bloomed and gone down. And
let me ask you a question about tulips. You know, I've lived in kind of the same zone in different states. And when I lived in Virginia, for example, the tulips came up every year. I didn't have to dig them. What do we do them here in Arkansas?
Well, they don't handle our summers well here. And they are subject to everything, you know, those critters still. So what I do is, if I'm going to dig them up, okay, generally I'm like Janet Carson. I just buy new bulbs every year. But I have before, and some people do, you dig them up, let them sit out in, you know, in a box or something for about 3 or 4 days so the soil around them gets good and dry. Take a brush, just brush the excess soil off, and I throw them in brown paper bags with peat moss in it. So in a peat moss medium, put it in a cool, dry place. Basically your crawl space here in Bella Vista would be ideal. Just put it in there in a box and bring them back out this time of year.
Okay, all right, let's move on then.
Yeah. And we talked about the fertilizing, all right, either bone meal or rock phosphate, either one. Rock phosphate's a little bit cheaper. And what else do you want to know about?
Well, I want to know about other bulbs other than tulips. For instance, if you were planting your daffodils, you do that now too?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Everything you can plant now are crocus, daffodils, cyclamens, jonquils, You can plant Helleborus now. That's going to be a tuber though. Peonies you can do now. Tulips now. Alliums, gladiolas, hyacinths, and I would wait on lilies until spring. And your narcissus, that's going to pretty much be an indoor in a pot. By the way, you can grow tulips in a pot. You know, I did that last year, 12 or 14 inch. You want a good sized pot, and get your soil level down and get it flat, and just set them all, you know, sprinkle the bottom with a little of the fertilizer, set your bulbs on top of it. You can pack them in tight, okay, and then just fill the soil from the top till you get to that 3 times the depth, and it can be outside. It's fine in a pot.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And they'll come right up in the spring in those pots.
Okay, let's just remind people, because we know, some of us, but the bulb, which way does it go?
Ah, well, it has, you know, it has a little pointy top and it has a little flat bottom, and it's sort of teardrop shaped, okay? And you'll see on the rounded bulb end of it, you'll see maybe a few little fibrous roots, and the top will have a little point. You want that point straight up, so it's sitting down that way.
If it lays on
It looks like a candy kiss.
there you go.
There you are.
If it's laying on its side, will it still work its way up?
If it's not too far over.
But don't plant it down.
Yeah. You want to try not to disturb it and get it set. Another thing I might want to mention, if you have a lot of them to plant in a large area, I would recommend, to save your back and time and everything else, get you a bulb auger. They sell them at Lowe's and Home Depot. Put it on the end of your cordless drill and just go out there with the auger and punch the holes. It goes really fast. You know,
Especially here in this soil.
yeah, if you're going to plant 100 bulbs or more, that really works well, you know. So,
What about those kind that you push down? They don't work that
yeah,
very well.
you can do that. It's hard on your back. I like my little handheld pick. I just use that and get the right depth, put the fertilizer in, put the bulb in, cover it up. And
So
go.
do you mix your bulbs, like, do you stage them to where they bloom at different times? How do you do that? How do you lay that out?
Well, Brent and Becky's will really help you with that, because every category of bulb has early and mid and late blooming times, and they're really good at explaining that. So if you want to plan your blooming, that's fine. It's how you're going to place the furniture in your house, how you're going to decorate. So,
Are you a straight line guy? Are you a circle guy? Or you just throw them out there and plant them where they land?
no, I'd usually go with a plan,
Ah.
but my plans always change. I rarely ever repeat a plan. I'm always experimenting. To me, that's the fun of it, is trying new things, new ways, you know.
You know somebody else that likes tulips after they've come up, don't you?
Who's that?
The deer.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You know, I have to plant mine inside a fence that they can't jump over.
Yeah, I put them in areas that the deer aren't going to be. You're right. Good news is daffodils, the deer don't bother.
No, why? They must taste awful.
I have no idea. They must. I've never tried one myself, but yeah. And there's a lot of little screening fences that you can use that will deter them. And if you don't want to spend the money on those little wire or cast iron or cast aluminum type garden fences that you can get at the box stores, what you could do is you can just put a couple of poles in the ground in whatever shape and use 100-pound fishing line.
Oh.
And just every foot or two, just tie that on. And when they head for it, they can't see that fishing line, and when they bump it, it startles them, and they leave it alone.
Okay.
I've planted some little baby trees on what I call my lower 40, and then I know that they typically go after the bark on those on those young trees like that until they develop, a pattern bark, a hard bark, where the bark is still smooth. The deer love to eat that. And I just put up 4 poles and a 100-pound test line around it, and they totally leave them alone. And I've got a lot of deer.
Yeah, we do. And they're not afraid either.
No, not anymore.
Yeah. So tell us about color, Tony. How do you plan your color? Do you have a theme? Do you change out all the time? What
Sure.
works?
Well, you know, if you're artistic, you can come up with a lot of things. If you're not, you can just always get a color wheel. You know, if you, and if you want to do 2 colors, you know, purple and yellow or red and white, or you know, it's like picking a tie for your suit. You know,
Yeah.
it's up to you. But that's why the catalogs are so good. You know, go to the website, look at their catalog online, then tell them that you want to send you one in the mail. Spend some time with it, and envision. Go out with your camera and photograph that garden that you want to show off to everybody, or you want to enjoy outside your breakfast window, and then come back in and envision what you would like it to look like. Put it on paper, figure out what you're going to need, and then get a hold of your catalog people. And you can order online with these people. You can fill out the form and mail it in. But I want to tell you, at Brent and Becky's, they have excellent staff people that when you call on the phone to place your order, they are really, 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 really good.
I remember when somebody, one of the owners, came and spoke to our garden club, right?
Yeah, he was the 2nd generation owner of Brent and Becky's. And he was brilliant, very nice, very kind man. We learned a lot from him. I learned a lot about bulbs. The Bella Vista daffodil bulb, by the way, in daffodils there's a hierarchy that goes from jonquils all the way to amaryllis. And so in that family, the Bella Vista daffodil is at the higher end of the daffodil family. It's almost an amaryllis.
Gotcha. Well, let's stop right there and talk and just mention again any time about fertilizer. And then we're going to take a quick break.
Sure.
And then we're going to come back and talk about that Bella Vista daffodil. So other than when you plant them, is there other fertilizing times?
No.
Or, no, that's it.
No, that's it. One time. They don't need anything else other than that.
And why is bone meal so good? It just...
Well, because bone meal and rock phosphate are both high phosphorus,
Okay.
and that phosphorus promotes fruit and flower.
Gotcha. Okay.
So we're looking for more flower. Okay.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back, and we're going to talk to you about those Bella Vista daffodils and what you should be doing right now in your garden.
Yes.
Or not.
Or not.
Okay, we're back. Tony, let's tell everybody, let's try to remember between the two of us here. For the longest time, you started this, the Bella Vista daffodil. Tell us a little bit about the history and how that got started and why we're doing it.
Well, I had just became president of the Bella Vista Garden Club, and one of our members, a longtime member, Jerry Horner, she was going through Brent and Becky's online, and you know there's hundreds of different cultivars of daffodils, and she ran across one, and the name of it was, and it's known worldwide. This particular is the Bella Vista daffodil.
Bingo.
And she brought it to my attention, and I said, you know what? There's daffodil shows all over the country. You know, people go to see hundreds of daffodils planted here and there. They're all yellow, you know. But the Bella Vista daffodil is basically white with an orange center and a black eye.
And
you
it's a
know,
little bigger.
and it's bigger.
Yeah.
Because it's almost an amaryllis, like I said before.
Oh.
So I said, we need to promote this. So we started the thing, and I went to the mayor, and at the time was Peter Christie, and we came up with a plan. And so that first year, we planted at City Hall and all the fire stations and the other public buildings. But we put out that first year about 10,000. And then every year thereafter, we were putting out, 2,000 to 3,000 a year for about 5 years. So we probably have about 25,000 of the Bella Vista daffodils around town. We've sold them out in front of Allen's grocery store and at different locations around town, at Harps and up at Highland Gates and different locations around town. And we will have them again available this year.
Oh, good.
The idea was to get as many businesses and homes now to plant them in front of their homes, so we have something unique going on in Bella Vista other than just the traditional, conventional yellow daffodil. So that's how it got started. That we've since the membership made it our official flower of the garden club.
Yeah.
And so we've had a lot of fun with it, and it's a beautiful bulb when it comes. That's a bulb that if you're not having problems with critters that would come and dig them up throughout the year, they can stay in the ground for years and years and years. They may need thinning out every 5 years or so. You have to just dig them up and separate them.
I dig them up and share them with people.
Right. Or you can dig them up, like I said before, and do them like the tulips and just let them dry, brush off the dirt, put them in some peat moss in a brown paper bag or box, and put them in a cool, dry place until you get them out at this time of the year and start the process all over again.
So, for us, it's the Bella Vista daffodil, where in Texas they look for bluebonnets. Here, we want to fill the whole place with Bella Vista daffodils in the spring. And you notice every year they come up in front of City Hall.
Oh, yeah.
They're beautiful.
And in front of the fire stations and the library and all around different places. So, but try to get, find a place to put 6 little bulbs out in front of your house.
Yep, and then they'll turn into 12 and 24.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about November. It's kind of time to put the garden to bed, isn't it?
Well, it is this morning.
This morning, I know.
Yeah, Mother Nature put her to bed last night.
Yeah. You don't really have to do a lot now. You can.
Right.
Or you can wait till spring, but you'll have more work in the spring if you
there's
wait.
some important things. You want to cover some of those things we need to do?
Yeah. I don't know about you, but what I do, and I have like 14 raised beds, and for my veggie beds, what I do is I clean them out, and then I put straw over them.
Right, that's a good idea.
Yeah, and then in the spring, you just kind of work that back into the soil or take a lot of it off, and then I don't have to do a lot in the spring.
Right.
But anyway, we really need to think about either leaving them and having a lot of work to do in the spring, or get busy and try to put them to bed.
Yeah, I think this is a good time on your vegetable gardens. Clean up your vegetable garden and get all the frozen plants out of there, get all that out of there. Just, get it to your compost bin. As if it's diseased, bag it and get rid of it that way. If it's not diseased, put it in your compost bin. It's a good time to add your amendments, whatever amendments that you want to add. Before you put that straw down, you might want to get a nice layer of manure in there or a nice layer of homemade compost. Or whatever.
That's right.
And cover it. And then early in the spring, about 2 weeks or so before your first plantings in the spring, you can just do a light till, and you're ready to go.
That's right. So annuals and herbs now are pretty much history, right?
Yeah.
Except the winter. There's some winter annuals.
Yeah. In my flower beds, I have only 27 flower beds. So in the flower beds, I let my leaves I don't remove leaves out of the flower beds.
Okay.
Until mid-February.
Gotcha.
Okay, they're holding in a lot of moisture, they're holding in a lot of warmth, they're decomposing. So they're doing a lot of really good things.
And they're giving some of the wildlife refuge, some
Right.
of the things that need
Exactly.
shelter.
And then on the plants, if it's a blooming plant, I don't cut it back at all. Okay, because a lot of those spent blooms have seeds in them, and that provides food for just a number of things, not just birds.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So, but in the spring, then I come out and I remove all the big flat leaves out of the flower beds and clean them up and get ready, for spring. Because once the weather warms up, then it harbors bad things. Then you can get funguses, and you can get different types of insects that have laid their eggs up underneath those leaves and so forth. But mid-February, when you dispose of that, you've gotten rid of them.
Gotcha. So perennials right now, let's see, mums, what else is, mums are are they history yet?
No, all the way up to Thanksgiving.
Okay.
You're fine.
Do you plant your mums or do you leave them in pots?
Well, I've done both,
Both.
but I have found that plants are happier when they're in the ground
Yes,
than in
they
a pot.
are. Yes,
So,
absolutely.
but if you don't have that space for them, the thing that I notice, especially with mums, is the growers purposely do extremely loose potting mixes. Mm-hmm. So that means they drain very fast, which means you need to water them almost every single, because they're sending them off to Walmart or
Yes.
wherever, okay?
Yes.
And the wherevers don't have PhDs taking care of them, okay? If you catch my drift.
Yes.
And so they just know to water those things every day, whether they need them or not. So they don't want them to get waterlogged, so they want them to drain quickly. So if you go and you buy it and you don't water every single solitary day, you're going to walk out there one day and it's going to all be dried up. You're going to, oh, I paid $14.99 for that.
There are some perennials, you say you don't cut any of yours back, but there's some, like salvia, for instance, that are a hollow.
Yeah.
So you got to be careful.
Yeah, if you do cut back your perennials, salvia, you definitely do not want to cut it back. And the reason is salvias have a hollow stem.
Right.
And what happens is moisture gets in that stem, and then it freezes, and you just kill the plant.
There you go. Nothing to do for roses until about February, right?
Yeah.
Are you still using your famous coffee mixture or whatever it is, your magic formula?
Yeah, I do. I have a lot of magic formulas when it comes to roses. We could do a whole program on roses, but I do not recommend doing any cutting on a rose bush.
Yeah.
It is not necessary to do any cutting until between Valentine's Day, there's your key, when you see the hearts, okay, and the 1st of March. That's when you can start the pruning, when that's another whole program. But don't cut them now.
Is that for climbing as well as the bush roses?
Right.
Okay.
Right. Just make sure they're well mulched.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Climbers, by the way, only get pruned once a year, but that's another whole story.
Okay.
That's a rose program.
But on lawns right now, you don't really have to rake those leaves, do
No.
you?
Well, I've been pretty successful. I got an emerald green yard 12 months out of the year, and I mulch everything.
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
You can, but you don't have to do the whole yard.
Right, and I like leaving my grass 2.5 at minimum inches. Mm-hmm. If it goes to 3, the taller that grass is through the winter, the more protection you're going to have, the warmer it's going to keep the ground. That's one thing. Also, as weed seeds blow in with the wind, okay, they need sunlight okay? So when that seed lands in it, the taller the grass blades are, the more shade there is on the ground.
Gotcha.
So you have that aspect. Also, grasses tend to have roots as deep as their tops.
Okay.
So I like 2.5 to 3 inches or so, in the wintertime. I mulch on my leaves. That adds even more protection. It beats raking. I'm not a fan of blowing leaves in the winter, which I say because you're blowing away topsoil. Why would you want to blow away topsoil in Bella Vista?
I wish we could blow away the rocks.
You know, well, that takes a larger blower.
I know it does. Okay, well, we've kind of talked about, and trees, there's really, you don't want to plant trees past this month, do you?
Yeah, you can plant trees all the way up.
As long as the ground's not terribly
Yeah,
frozen.
again, I like anywhere from Halloween to Thanksgiving for trees and large shrubs. I put
Gotcha.
those in the same category, and we just planted on dogwood yesterday a nice Tupelo black oak. So, but you can go all the way up to Christmas on tree. They're dormant, and it's the best time to do them. The sooner they're in the ground when the weather, like when we get this first frost in the ground, and again, you want to go into that hole with a root fertilizer. You want like a 0022, okay? Because you want those roots to grow all winter long, because you don't know what summer's going to bring. It's very first summer in this world when it starts putting out leaves. And what if the first summer is we hit a string of triple-digit days and we haven't had rain in 4 weeks?
Right. Gotcha.
So the more root growth you have, so the most important thing is the root growth that first year.
Okay, well, Tony, we're about out of time. I want to remind some folks, other than you, where we can get some information. If you have questions about gardening in November, remember that the Master Gardener website, and I'm hoping it's going to come up here on the screen in a minute, bentoncountygardening.org, is just, there it is, thank you, is wonderful. The University of Arkansas website is phenomenal, and that is time-tested, everything,
Yes.
no kidding. The next meeting of the Benton County Master Gardeners is on November the 7th, and that program is going to be about figs. You know, Andrea is doing her fig thing.
I know.
She's amazing.
Yes.
For more information on the Bella Vista Garden Club, you can go to the bellavistagardenclub.com. Look at her, man, she is so good. Our graphics person is amazing.
Yes.
Thank you, Ann. And put that, go to that website as well. Their next meeting is not until January.
Yeah. We had a nice fig crop this year.
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
I know.
I did
Amazing.
too.
Yeah, me too. And I get, you know, I love it for a while, and then I get really tired of figs. So you have to make them into jelly or do whatever you want to with them. Hey, Tony, always a pleasure. Thank you
Yeah,
for
it's always
being
fun.
here.
Yeah.
And we are going to you're going to be back next year because you are an expert in so many areas. You're especially good about watering and all of that.
Maybe we'll do a rose program.
I think,
Because there's a
I think he wants to do a rose program.
Well, there's a lot to know about. People like the rose, and
Yes.
they like rose, but they get really confused about how to have healthy, pretty roses. They get,
Exactly.
you know,
Exactly.
what to do when, and you know.
Well, then we'll do that.
So,
You can
and
be
it-
our Rose King.
You
How's
know,
that?
and I don't know why that is.
I don't either. Well, I hope you've enjoyed the program today, and we're going to be back next month. Now, remember our 2 show sponsors, the Bella Vista Garden Club and the Benton County Master Gardeners. We are so appreciative of both of those organizations, not just because we're members. We are excited about what they do for the community.
Well, we've got both those organizations have an outstanding body of people to work with.
That's right. That's right.
I mean, that's what makes it happen. Some really bright, talented people.
That's right.
It's really fun.
So what Jerry always says is don't forget to stop and smell the roses. Right now, there aren't any to smell, but when we go to do his rose show next spring, there's going to be a lot of them to smell.
February.
February.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah.
February. Okay, thank you guys. We will see you next month.